Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective. Happy Monday. It's time for Monday Musings. I know, I am my own sound and special effects. So, anyways, I'm back with the self-awareness deck, getting into the vortex, which is basically getting into self-awareness. And it's kind of dawned on me why I was struggling until now with the self-awareness deck. So I don't think I want to do it every single day because, you know, there's a lot that we can talk about, but we'll see how it goes because there are, well, we're on card number 34 of 60, so there's still a good 26 more to go. So, you know, but anyways, morning mantras first. And then I'll get into why I think I was struggling with the self-awareness cards. So let's see. Morning mantra. I just love that little cup of coffee, right? I mean, so cute. So, all right. Oh, how funny. There it is again. I refuse to deprive myself of the tiny splurgy pleasures that spark my daily joy. I'm a lot more fun when I'm not a hollow, gray-eyed husk of resentment. Okay. I refuse to deprive myself of the tiny splurgy pleasures that spark my daily joy. I'm a lot more fun when I'm not a hollow, gray-eyed husk of resentment. So I know people are saying, I have people that say to me, why would you pay, like, basically what, by the time I'm done with all the things, I like to customize my coffee with the big ones. It's almost like $6 or $7, right? And some people are like, why would you do that? You know, why would, you know, and I mean, depending on how fast you drink coffee can actually last a while, or whatever your drink is. I mean, I get a green tea. It's probably like the Trenta size green tea from Starbucks. It's probably a total of like $5 because I get it plain. Very little ice. I throw one of my Arbonne Fizz sticks in it sometimes, but boy, that thing lasts me all day. And then because I like to track my water, sometimes I'll use the cup. I know, believe this or not, sometimes I'll use the cup for a few days because I know that it's 30 ounces. But, that aside, I don't think it's wrong to have those pleasures in the day, those things that kind of bring you your joy. I mean, caffeine is addicting, and so is the sugar that comes with it. But sometimes it's one of those things, right? Like you hear people say, if I don't have my coffee, I'm grouchy, la la la. And that's funny because older sibling. So I've talked about older sibling before, and she has what's called CRPS, which is another name for RSD, which is chronic regional pain syndrome. And so the reason I'm bringing that up is because sometimes, you know, sometimes she's in so much pain, she can't sleep the night before. So a lot of times I'll come out of my room, I try to wake her up, and I'll go into her room, try to wake her up. And if she's really tired, I can tell, so I'll let her sleep. So that being said, you know, because, you know, you heal when you sleep. Sometimes there'll be times when it's like she has literally not probably gone to bed till like 6 or 7, and like maybe right as I'm waking her up, she's just fallen asleep. So she'll sleep to maybe about noon sometimes, or 1, and that's very rare. But the reason I'm bringing that up is she cannot start her day without coffee. I could be eating lunch and she's making her cup of coffee. I can't start my day till I have my first cup of coffee. I think she gets it from her mom. Okay. So I call her older sibling, but for those of you who might be new, she's my soul sister. She's my best friend. I've known her for a couple of decades, and she really is like the older sister I never had. And what's funny about that when I bring up her mom is, for some reason in my head for all these years, and even though she's told me a million times, I always forget that she was born at night. But her parents were musicians. You know, they played with Mary Max. They, you know, they were in the jazz field. They were very well known. And I forget about that because jazz musicians definitely hold different hours, right? They're night people. And so she said one of her favorite stories, we all have funny stories from the day we're born, right? That our parents tell us, that her father told her they could not go to the hospital while she's in labor until she had a coffee and a donut. I'm just sitting there like, what? So for some reason, I always get it in my head that older sibling was born at night. I mean, in the morning, when it was actually at night. It was like 8 something at night, but her mom had to have her coffee and her donut. And I really kind of think that passed on to older sibling, where it's like, I can't start my day till I've had my coffee. And so the reason I'm bringing that up is because sometimes those are our pleasures. I used to laugh at people when they said, I can't start my day till I have my coffee. Now, I'm not a person that drinks coffee every day. My day can start without my coffee. But we all have our different things, right? I mean, you know, when I would go to work, it'd be like, oh yeah, I'm going to have a Starbucks or wherever I go, you know, whatever coffee shop is nearby. I actually like to find, local owned coffee shops. And, one of my friends is very good at finding those. And, you know, cause I like the cup. I like the coffee and the saucers. You know, I go back to the days when before Starbucks was around, and we had, one of the first places I lived when I moved out was in the college area in San Diego, and it was called the Living Room. And I think it was actually a house once, and somebody just kind of redesigned it to be a coffee shop. And, you know, they had live music, and, you know, it was a little tiny cafe. And I loved it, you know, and the cup came with like a cup and a saucer, and, you know, it was just, there was something magical about that, you know, just drinking, almost like when you see it on Friends, right? And they have their coffee cups, and that's how a lot of these places were way back in the 90s and in the late 80s and all that stuff. So, you know, I mean, I'm not going to say anything bad about Starbucks, because I admit I'm a bit addicted. But, and that doesn't mean everybody likes them. There's a lot of different places. When I was in England, I went to all different places. The only time I went to Starbucks was usually at night, because they were pretty much the only place that served coffee that was open. And it wasn't so much coffee. You know, every time you get that sweet tooth, right? I mean, I think I was drinking chocolate frap. It was like 35 degrees outside. They looked at me like, what is wrong with you? But, what can I say? I mean, sometimes when it's cold, the colder the drink, the better. And it's always nice because it stays cold. You know, when you live in California, things heat up pretty quick. You know, you don't mean for it to, but it does. So anyways, you know, just talk, this is the Aloha perspective. I ramble. So, but yeah, I refuse to deprive myself of the tiny splurgy pleasures that spark my daily joy. I'm a lot more fun when I'm not a hollow, gray-eyed husk of resentment. Well, I think anybody's fun when they're not a hollow, gray-eyed husk of resentment. You don't always need, you know, don't judge a book by its cover. This is basically what I'm saying, is I should never have judged people who, you know, can't start their day without coffee. I remember when, my dad, years ago, first found out he had to be decaf. And he's like me. He'll drink caffeine every so often, or, I mean, in his coffee. But I was like, I'm all, decaf is for quitters. And he was like, I like my coffee, and this is what my doctor said, and blah, blah. And my dad is very rarely ever listens to his doctor. But the funny thing is now I have to do decaf because, you know, my doctor suggested it. My cardiologist suggested it for my heart. And I was like, But turns out I do love my coffee. And even if it's decaf. So I like to think of myself, if you drink coffee and you're a decaf person, don't let people put you down. You tell them this. You tell them I sent you and said this. I'm hardcore coffee because I'm a hardcore coffee drinker, because I'm not drinking it for the caffeine. I'm drinking it because I enjoy it. It's your splurgy pleasure. And even when I go to Starbucks, I'll get either all decaf or a 2/3 decaf. You know, otherwise I'm wired for the whole day. And you see how fast I talk already. Imagine me on caffeine, which some of you have seen if you've seen this show before. That's just how I am. I don't know. Even my dad, it's like, could you slow down when you're talking? And I don't know why. I don't know why I talk so fast. Everything I do is fast. When I write, sometimes it could be nerves. I don't know. It's just weird. I know. And it's something I'm trying to be mindful about and think about and figure out why I do it. But anyways. So, you know what? Just enjoy your splurgy things. I know there's a lot of people out there who sit there and say, well, I really want this, but I probably shouldn't because it's like a bazillion calories. You know what? If you don't eat it every day, just indulge every so often. That doesn't mean you have to do it all the time. Now, if it's a slippery slope, see if you can find something to replace it with. You know, see if you can find an alternative that might be healthier for you, or, you know, or just make a mental note. Be mindful about we'll use a chocolate muffin, for example. Be mindful about it. You know, don't just sit there, done. Because then you're like, oh, now it's gone. Sit there, you know, eat it with a fork. You know, or people might make fun of you. Why are you eating your muffin with a fork? People used to ask me that at work, and I said, because if I don't, I'm going to inhale it. But this way I can stop, slow down, and enjoy it. And sometimes that's all you have to do. And I eat my muffins and cupcakes upside down. I eat the bottom first, then the top, because the top's like the best part. But I think there was even a Seinfeld episode about that. You know, where it was like, I can't remember if it was the tops of the muffin or the bottoms of the muffin. I think it was, what's her name that was trying to sell I can't remember. I mean, it was a long time ago. But I remember that one stood out in my mind because it was kind of funny. And it's like, oh yeah, it's like the best part. But anyways, just, you know, try to be mindful about it. Just don't shame yourself. In fact, the Wednesday, for Self-Care Wednesday, I'm going to talk about emotional eating. Okay, because that is something I'm recovering from. It is an actual eating disorder. And, I mean, not that I want to put labels on myself, but I think people sit there and we're told for so long, no, that's nothing. You're just sad or blah, 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 or you're eating your feelings. Yeah, well, when you're eating your feelings and you're feeling a lot, that can be bad. So, moral of that story, don't shame yourself. Just enjoy your things. Enjoy what you love. You know, enjoy. Life is too short to sit there and say, I better not have that cookie because, you know, I might die tomorrow. Well, you may not eat the cookie and you still might. You know, I mean, that's not to be gruesome. That's not to be grim. That's not to be just really dark. It's just, we don't know. Nothing is promised. The next moment isn't promised. I go walk out the door and just, you know, fall and break my face. I mean, there's just so many weird things that can happen to us in life. I mean, good karma. I don't want that to happen. And I don't want that to happen to you. But I'm just saying nothing's promised. So if you do struggle with eating and you do struggle with these things and you are trying to make better habits, just be more mindful about it. You know, be more mindful about it. I'll give you a little preview of Wednesday. Yesterday, one of the reasons I decided to do emotional eating for this Wednesday is because, you know, for Self-Care Wednesday is because, I was feeling a little emotional yesterday. Yesterday it kind of marked a point in my life where it's just kind of like, wow, it really kind of blew my mind. And then Sibling and I were having some big talks and I started talking about, you know, a lot of my own things and it's like, whoa, I didn't even realize that was an issue for me. And I mean, we were just kind of shooting the breeze, really. And it was like, whoa, like all these different things. And next thing I know, I'm like, you know, I just really want to eat some of these cookies. And I ate like 8 of them. Okay, like 8 chocolate chip cookies. It may have been 9. I'm not even sure. But the point is I really tried to be mindful about it. And because I was mindful about it, normally when I do that, it's like the next day it's like, I gotta get more cookies. Today it's past. It's past. Because I didn't shame myself after. I didn't make myself feel bad after. I hadn't intended on eating all of them, but I ended up doing that. And I thought, you know what? But I was trying to be very mindful of every single bite, the taste, the texture, everything. And, I realized, okay, I didn't feel that much different afterwards. But I didn't shame myself. I didn't make myself feel bad for it. I just said, okay, this was a moment, deal with it. And then I journaled about it. And again, like I said, being mindful about, some of the habits that we have and some of the habits that we've created can actually help us move through them and past them. So speaking of self-awareness and mindfulness, we have card number 34. Card number 34 of getting into the vortex, which in my interpretation is getting into self-awareness. And, the vortex being just that center of you, your center. And I realized that part of the reason I started to struggle with these is, especially like the first half of the deck, we seemed to just blow through, right? It was like, wow, we're just on a roll, 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 roll. There were some cards that just kind of upended me, but we managed to make it through. Then I hit card number 31 and it's like, oh, what is happening? It's like everything just doesn't make sense anymore. And then, as I've mentioned in the past, I ended up back in therapy. And because my brain just felt stuck. And I realized what was happening. And I realized this morning while brushing my teeth that, oh my God, this is why I was struggling with the self-awareness. Because I hadn't reached this point in my healing yet. I hadn't reached this point in my life yet. And I know you might be thinking, but you're old AF. I'm not old AF, but some people might think that. And you might be thinking, how do you not know this already? Believe it or not, there's a lot of people. That's why I do this show. That's why I'm my age and I do this show. Because I want to show people that you can be 100 years old and just be discovering your self-awareness. There are people who go their entire lives being people pleasers and not even realizing it. Like everything, then they get to, the latter part of their life and they're like, I did all these things for people, but where are these people now for me? When I need somebody. People pleasing, not the best thing. Giving of yourself from a full cup, definitely a good thing. People pleasing is just because you want people to like you. If people don't like you for who you are, they can pound the pavement, all right? Just send them on their way. Because mutual respect is so important in any type of relationship, whether it's a work relationship, a partnership, a family relationship, a sibling relationship, a parent-child relationship, a sibling relationship, a romantic relationship. Mutual respect is so important. And when we're constantly giving of ourselves to somebody else without getting anything back, we start thinking, whoa, we might even question our own self-worth. But we do it and we do it and we do it. And a lot of times people pleasing is like emotional eating. You don't know how to fill this void, so you're trying to fill it with something else instead of self-respect and self-awareness. So maybe I'm talking out of my ass. I don't know. But for me personally, that's my experience. And that's, this is the Aloha perspective. It's the Shelley perspective, basically. Shelley Marie's thoughts on certain things. And for me, my self-awareness was very, very lacking because I am a recovering people pleaser too. I know people are saying, why do you keep saying recovering? Because that's exactly what it is. These are habits that I am trying to move past. These are habits I'm trying to move through so I can heal it. You got to heal it to feel it. You got to feel it to heal it, right? You got to go through it to grow through it. What's the other saying? If God leads you to it, he'll lead you through it. So you have to trust whoever your source is, whoever your higher power is, but mostly you have to trust yourself. And that's where the biggest struggle for me was, just trusting myself. But now that I'm learning how to trust myself, my self-awareness is growing. And when I read this card this morning, yes, I read it ahead of time because I wanted to make sure I understood it and could talk about it. And it's still a little, topsy-turvy for me, but I got the gist of it. Sometimes I think it's the wording of these cards, but I mean, look, so you have so in different traditions and cultures, this can mean a myriad of things, or actually it means the same thing basically, but has a myriad of different names and, and depending on the culture. But in the Polynesian culture, this is called the koru, K-O-R-U, and that's, continuing life. Basically, it's like the palm frond, right? Like you'll see like a fern frond. Did I say that right? But like when you see the fern, it's all swirled up and then it unfurls. And then it's just, it's this beautiful plant. It becomes this beautiful thing, but it starts wound up. And when it's wound up, when it unfurls, it's meant to, its attempt is to express continuing life. I have one right on me, right there. I know it's hard to see, but I have my own, because it's to remind me that it's continuing life, that it's, being self-aware. So today's card, number 34 of 60. Inspired action is always pleasurable action. The dominance of your thoughts is what brings everything to you and is what is behind the action that you offer. By seeking good feeling thoughts that align you with your source, your action will then always feel good. You cannot muster enough action to compensate for misaligned thought, but action that is inspired from aligned thought is always pleasurable action. So basically what it's saying is, it's right here in the front. Inspired action is always pleasurable action. So when you're coming from a good place, it's going to make you feel good. But when you're coming from maybe a negative place or potentially a people-pleasing place, which may not seem bad, right? People say, well, what's wrong with being a people pleaser? People pleasing is different from giving from a full cup. When you give from a full cup, you're giving from your happiness. You have a full cup of happiness, or you have a cup of happiness. When you're people pleasing, it's generally from an empty cup, and you're trying to fill your own void by making other people happy. Is there anything wrong with making other people happy? Absolutely not. I love making other people happy. But when we do it from the stance of people pleasing, what's happening is that we're trying to fill our cup, with other people's joy. But when you leave that moment, where you're not left with any more joy, that joy dissipates. But when you do things for yourself, when you know you're coming from a good place, when you're not worried about, giving someone an extravagant gift because you want to impress them, as opposed to giving somebody something because it's like, hey, I came into some good fortune. Here's something wonderful I thought you would love. And, they're just like, oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As opposed to saying, I got this gift from you, so I have to try to match it because, I want you to think I'm cool enough. We throw ourselves off when we do that. And, I've known people that have done that. I have done that because we just want people to love us. But how can people love us if we don't love ourselves? That's what this card is about. In my perspective, that's what it's about. Inspired action is always pleasurable action versus you cannot muster enough action to compensate for misaligned thought. But action that is inspired from aligned thought is always pleasurable action. So basically, we are what we think. We are what we think. If we're continually being negative, nothing but negativity is going to come to us. But when we have inspired actions, when we act from an inspired place, we're filling our cup. We're filling it with, self-awareness, with self-love, with self-joy, with self-respect. And then we're able to give from that cup in a different way than people-pleasing. I should probably do a thing on people-pleasing because I know I'm probably not explaining it very well, but I've been there. I've had the therapy through it, and I realized that people-pleasing for me was just another version of emotional eating. It was trying to fill a void with something that doesn't last forever and sometimes makes you feel pretty bad afterwards. And we deserve better than that. Our self-awareness deserves to be intact. Our self-awareness deserves to, be celebrated, to be appreciated, to be respected. And when there's mutual respect, you can feel that. You realize that you're not just trying to please somebody, but you're doing something because not only does it make this person happy, but you're giving of yourself to this person and they're giving back. So to me, again, in my opinion, people pleasing is just, trying to make somebody, notice you, trying to make somebody love you or, appreciate you. And it's so one-sided. A lot of times it is so one-sided. And so it's important to make sure our cup is filled. And when we do things from inspired action, that makes it helpful. When we do things from a very positive and joyful place, it is that inspired action. But when you cannot muster enough action to why can I not say this word today? You cannot muster enough action to compensate for misaligned thought. We have to think better of ourselves. Self-awareness, getting into the vortex. These are all the things that are trying to raise our vibe. It's all these things that are trying to help us see who we are in the mirror. Just past all this. So that when you see all this, you love it, you appreciate it. Because you know what you're beaming from the inside out. It's not just this that impresses the world. This may get you into the doors, or this may get you into people's lives, but this inside of you, whatever's inside of you, that's what keeps you there. That's what keeps you there. That's what keeps you with the good people, with the people you're meant to be around, with the people that should be in your life, or the people that have yet to come into your life. We have to learn to appreciate ourselves more. We have to learn to align our thoughts with a higher version of who we are. If we're not in a good place, if you're in a good place, teach it to somebody else. Show them by example how to live this life. You can't fix anybody, but we can guide people, right? We can be leaders. We can take people by the spiritual hand and say, hey, you know what? I get it. I've been there. And if you want it to, it will get better. And I know you're thinking, if you want it to, a person can only make their life better if they choose to make their life better. If they don't choose to take accountability, if they don't choose to fix themselves or to heal themselves, there's nothing you can do about that. And that doesn't mean you have to walk away from them. But it might strain the relationship a little because, you know, it does make it hard. But I promise you, most of the time, they are going to see it and they're going to change. And they may even change and not realize they're changing. I've been there. I've been that person, older sibling. And, you know, early on in this whole spiritual journey of mine, older sibling took me by the spiritual hand. And she didn't quit on me. Even when, you know, she was like struggling to hold me from while I was dangling off the side of a cliff, you know, figuratively, not literally, she didn't let go. And we need those kind of people in our lives. We need those people who aren't going to quit on us. But we also have to do some kind of, you know, we have to make some kind of attempt to heal ourselves. Because there are going to be times when people just don't have the strength to hold on anymore and they might let go. And you can't blame them for that. You can't expect someone to hold on to you if you're not going to change your behavior. Come from a place of inspired action. You know, when we come from a place of misaligned thought, we just keep bringing those bad thoughts into our life. We keep bringing that worry into our lives. We keep bringing that sadness into our life. But when we find a way to do inspired action, when we find a way to move forward, we bring that flow back to us. And that's what matters. That's what's important. Okay, so I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day today. Thank you so much for watching and hanging in there. I'll be back possibly tomorrow. I will be later because I have an appointment tomorrow morning. It will be a little later if I come on. If not, I will see you Wednesday. For Self-Care Wednesday, but I will try to get back on tomorrow, even if for a short bit. Who knows? I may do it earlier or I might do it later, but it will not be at 8:30 tomorrow. But, so just in case, I will post this to YouTube. If you follow me on Facebook, you will probably see it somewhere in here. Or, if not, I will definitely be back Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Or Pacific time. I don't know. I don't know what standard. I don't know the difference between standard and daylight. Terrible, right? Doesn't matter to me. All I know is that the time will change on Sunday, this Sunday, and we'll spring forward. So at some point that's going to change and just stop because we voted it out like 1 billion years ago. But until then, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, okay, California time, Facebook Live. All lives are public. Anybody can watch under Shelly Marie Lucas. Shelly Marie's one word. Get it right, my mother will haunt you. Or I upload these to YouTube under the Aloha Perspective with Shelly Marie. And I also share it to my Facebook page, the Aloha Perspective. All right. So again, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. The self-awareness cards, they're still a little bumpy for me, but I think we're all getting there. I think we're all moving through this together towards, you know, some kind of alignment with ourselves. You know, it's always good to be totally aligned with ourselves and to really understand and know where we're coming from, to be mindful. Remember, mindful is not the same as meditation. Meditation is where you sit there and you do your best to clear your mind. And you just kind of try to move through everything and just sit in quiet. Mindfulness is when we move through our emotions, when we feel them, we honor them, we understand them. All right, so again, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to everybody either tomorrow or Wednesday. Have a great day.